At 30,000 feet above the Earth, Flight 7117 cut through the sky like any other ordinary plane. Inside, passengers sipped coffee, watched movies, and waited to land. No one knew that within minutes, this normal flight would turn into a quiet nightmare. Captain Richard Hale glanced at the fuel gauge for the third time. His brow tightened. "That can't be right," he muttered. The needle rested at the bottom. Empty. The co-pilot leaned closer, then checked the secondary display. His face drained of color. "Captain, we're dry." For a moment neither man spoke. Years of training told them this wasn't possible. The flight plan was correct. The refueling logs were signed. And yet the numbers didn't lie. Then the first engine coughed. A deep shudder ran through the aircraft, like a giant holding its breath. Passengers felt it immediately. Drinks rattled, screens flickered. The captain grabbed the controls. "Mayday, Mayday, Flight 717, fuel emergency," he said into the radio. Only static answered. The second engine began to wind down, its roar fading into an unnatural silence. The cabin grew eerily quiet. No engine noise, only the whistle of air rushing past metal. That was when panic began to spread. A woman screamed. A man shouted for help. Oxygen masks dropped from the ceiling, swinging like ghosts. A baby cried. Somewhere, someone prayed out loud. Flight attendant Maria stumbled down the aisle, forcing a smile she didn't feel. "Everyone stay seated," she said, her hands shaking. "Please remain calm." But calm was already gone. In seat 23B sat Evan Carter, 9 years old, traveling alone to visit his grandmother. His backpack rested between his feet. He wasn't crying. He wasn't screaming. He was listening. The silence of the engines didn't scare him. It reminded him of something. Gliders. Evan's mother used to take him to a small airfield every weekend. She wasn't an airline pilot, just a woman who loved the sky. She flew engineless planes that rode invisible rivers of air. "Planes don't fall," she used to tell him. "They glide. If you understand the air, it carries you." Evan looked out the window now. The wings were steady. The nose wasn't dropping. The plane was still flying. People around him didn't see that. They only felt fear. Another jolt shook the cabin as the aircraft began to descend slowly. Over the intercom, the captain's voice came on, strained, controlled, but honest. "Ladies and gentlemen, we have experienced a fuel emergency. We are doing everything possible." He paused. "Please prepare for an emergency landing." The words hit harder than any turbulence. A man near the aisle clutched his wife's hand. "We're not going to make it," he whispered. Maria rushed back toward the cockpit, tears slipping down her face. Inside, the captain slammed the radio again. "Anyone, any aircraft, this is Flight 717, he pleaded. "Nothing." The co-pilot swallowed. "We won't reach the nearest airport." The captain stared forward, jaw tight. "Then we glide as long as we can." Minutes stretched like hours. In the cabin, fear turned into desperation. Passengers began shouting questions. Someone demanded answers. Someone else demanded God. Maria turned, her voice breaking. "Is there anyone on board who has experience with flying? Any pilot, anyone?" Silence answered her. No hands went up. No confident voices spoke. Then from the middle of the cabin, a small hand rose. People stared. A man scoffed bitterly. "Is this a joke?" Maria blinked. "Sweetheart." Evans stood slowly, heart pounding but face calm. "My mom flies gliders," he said. "She taught me about airspeed and glide paths." A ripple of disbelief moved through the cabin. "He's a child," someone said angrily. Maria hesitated. Every rule screamed no. Every instinct screamed yes. The plane shuddered again, losing altitude. Desperation won. She nodded. "Come with me." Evan walked forward as adults watched him pass, some angry, some hopeful, some crying openly. He felt hundreds of eyes on his back. The cockpit door opened. The captain turned and froze. "You brought a kid?" the co-pilot snapped. Evan swallowed. "Sir, the plane isn't falling, it's gliding, but you need the right angle." The captain stared at him, then back at the dark horizon ahead. "How do you know that?" he asked quietly. Evan pointed at the airspeed indicator. You're bleeding speed too fast. My mom says altitude is fuel when you don't have fuel." The cockpit fell silent. The captain slowly eased the controls, adjusting just enough. The descent smoothed. The co-pilot exhaled sharply. He's right. Evan climbed onto the jump seat, hands gripping the edge. "I can't fly," he said softly, "but I can help you not waste what you have left." The captain looked at the boy, then nodded. Outside, the stars watched silently as Flight 717 continued its powerless glide through the night. And no one on board yet knew whether the sky would save them or claim them. The cockpit felt smaller now, not because of fear, but because time was running out. Flight 717 was gliding through the night sky like a wounded bird, silent except for the rush of air along its wings. No engines, no second chances. Every foot of altitude was precious. Captain Hale kept his hands steady on the controls, but his eyes kept drifting to the fuel gauge, still empty. The co-pilot monitored speed and descent, calling out numbers that mattered more than anything else in the world. Behind them, Evan sat upright on the jump seat, feet dangling, eyes fixed on the instruments. "You're holding too much nose down," Evan said quietly. "You'll lose lift." The captain adjusted slightly. The plane steadied. The co-pilot stared at the boy. "How do you know this?" Evan swallowed. "My mom made me memorize it. She said one day it might save someone." Below them, darkness stretched endlessly until a faint line of yellow lights appeared far ahead. "Land!" The captain leaned forward. "That's a private airstrip, short, old." Evan nodded. "It's our only chance." The co-pilot hesitated. "If we come in too fast, we overshoot. Too slow, we stall." Evan pointed at the altimeter. "We need to commit now, no turns, straight glide." For a moment, 3 generations of fear and hope sat in one cockpit. Then the captain said, "All right, you're with us." In the cabin, Maria gripped the intercom. "Ladies and gentlemen," she said, her voice trembling but strong, "we are attempting an emergency landing. Please brace." Passengers wrapped arms around children. Strangers held hands. Some closed their eyes. Some watched the wingtips cut through the night. The runway lights grew larger. Too fast, too close. Wind buffeted the aircraft, pushing it off-center. "We're drifting," the co-pilot warned. Evan leaned forward. "Small correction. Don't fight the air, guide it." The captain adjusted. The plane lined up. Altitude dropped fast now. Trees flashed beneath them. The runway rushed up like a dark wall. "Landing gear?" the captain asked. "Already down," the co-pilot replied. "Speed?" "Borderline." Evan's voice was barely a whisper. Hold it now, flare!" The captain pulled gently. The plane's nose lifted. For a terrifying second, it felt like the aircraft might stall. Then, impact. The wheels slammed the runway. A scream tore through the cabin as sparks flew beneath them. The plane bounced once, hard. "Stay down!" Evan shouted. The captain fought the controls, heart pounding in his ears. The aircraft hit again, then stayed down, skidding forward, metal screaming against asphalt. Passengers were thrown against seatbelts. Luggage crashed from overhead bins. Smoke filled the cabin. The runway rushed past. Too fast. Too fast. The end of the strip loomed closer. Then the speed bled away. Slowly, painfully, until the plane stopped. Silence. Not the terrifying silence of before, but a stunned, holy quiet. Then someone screamed. Not in fear, in joy. The cabin erupted. People cried, laughed, prayed, hugged strangers. Maria collapsed to her knees, sobbing. In the cockpit, the co-pilot covered his face. The captain turned slowly to Evan. His hands were shaking. "You saved every life on this plane," he said, voice breaking. Evan shook his head. "I just remembered." Emergency vehicles flooded the runway, lights flashing red and blue across the night. Firefighters burst through the cabin doors. Paramedics helped passengers down the slides. News spread fast. By morning, cameras crowded the airstrip. Headlines screamed, "Miracle landing and child saves flight." Reporters pushed, four microphones toward Evan. "How did you know what to do?" one asked. Evan looked down. "My mom taught me." Captain Hale stood beside him, placing a hand on the boy's shoulder. Every adult on that plane froze. the captain said to the cameras. This child didn't. He trusted what he knew. Later, as the sun rose, Evans sat alone on the edge of the runway. The plane rested behind him, scratched, broken, but whole. He imagined his mom smiling. Planes don't fall. They glide. And sometimes, when the world is out of fuel, hope comes in the smallest seat on the plane.